Hello and welcome to another actionable video from the GrowBig Initiative. I'm your host Josh Halpern, helping you sell through multiple channels and geographies. Today we're checking in with Andy from IMRG in the UK. IMRG is the Interactive Media Retail Group, and they basically benchmark and analyze data across the retail industry in the UK so that companies understand where they are in comparison to their cohort and how they can optimize their e-commerce strategy and expand internationally. So we're checking in with IMRG right now. Andy, thanks for joining us here for the GrowBig Initiative.
Josh, lovely to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
So break it down for us. My understanding is you're going to go through 10 things that retailers should understand about the UK market.
Yeah, that's right. In no particular order. The first thing I'd say is that we are a nation of shoppers in this country. So we've been doing it for a very long time. Online followed naturally on from a thriving sort of catalogue business. It's also quite a strong road network in the UK, and it's not a massive country. So if you put a distribution centre in the middle of in the country, you can basically send stuff anywhere pretty quickly. Having said that, the second thing is that you send this stuff out, some of it comes back. We do have a relatively high return rate generally in this country, varies by product category. But the average rate runs at about 25% or so, and it can be a lot higher if you're selling stuff that's reasonably expensive, particularly in clothing and stuff like that. Third thing is there's a lot of change going on in the UK. I don't think this is completely unique to the UK, but the high street, which traditionally has been very much what the UK is about, it's a series of high streets around the country and things are structured around that. They've been under pressure for a long time. As online has grown, it's taken share, obviously. So there was a problem there, and then the pandemic has completely accelerated that problem. So if you're looking at a store type business, you can do it. It's just to be aware that there is that change going on. You know, you just got to identify how it is that you're going to make it work. Linked to that point is that there's a bit of a change of the guard going on, really, because some of those sort of traditional high street stores have not done that well in the migration to online. So just in the last sort of year, 18 months, Debenhams went bust, which is a big department store, and Arcadia, which was 6 different clothing brands, very big company, very dominant, in the early years of online, but they've not really done very well. But Boohoo and ASOS, 2 of the very biggest online companies around, have basically swept up their assets. So I think that kind of tells you something about the direction of travel, really. Obviously, we had the pandemic, and that brought about loads and loads of lockdowns in the UK. So we had some very long lockdowns because basically the government just kept screwing it up all the time. And that sort of forced people online who maybe weren't that keen on doing it before. So really things have diversified a lot. There's a much bigger base of people online than there were before. You know, again, I'm sure that's the case across a few countries.
I would imagine that implies that there's also a lot more competition online.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be my sixth point, actually, which is that yes, it's very, you know, there's great opportunity and all that sort of thing, but you know, remember there's some pretty seasoned operators here. There's new companies that sort of pop up all the time, and some of them do very well. So the competitive landscape is very strong. I would suggest it's always been a bit like that here, but you know, it's just got more and more intense as time's gone on. With the different categories that are served online, some of them have done better than others. So during the pandemic, with everyone sort of in very long lockdowns and things, stuff like home electricals absolutely boomed. Beauty did as well. Interestingly, fragrance did really well. I know why you need to smell well when you're at home, but there you go. But something like clothing didn't really. So people didn't necessarily have to buy that work attire. So if you're selling like, you know, lounging around the house type clothes, did pretty well. Trainers did well, but like formal wear and stuff, just a disaster. So that category did not do very well through the pandemic, and that's a bit of a knock-on effect there. Something that we're famous for in the UK that you may be aware of is that the weather is it's changeable, which is to say, I think people always have this assumption that it just rains all the time in the UK. It sort of does somewhere, but not everywhere, right? But it's more likely that you'll get in a day a bit of rain, a bit of sun, a bit of snow, a bit of wind. And all that, and sometimes you get the wrong weather for the wrong season, and that makes it very difficult to sell seasonal stuff. And you know, with the sort of shifts in climate going on, it has become a bit more unpredictable, really. So there's that seasonality stuff to bear in mind. But the weather doesn't behave itself for your product range. The ninth thing is about the mix of options that you offer. One thing that the pandemic has done is speed up people's expectations around speed of delivery. So if you went back to pre-pandemic times, or actually even during the pandemic, early days of it, people, if you ask, we ran a survey to ask when they thought was reasonable to receive a standard a delivery using a standard time, and they said 2 to 3 days is absolutely what they would expect. But now it's like same day or next day, and that's just in the space of a year. It's really shot up people's expectations around that, and a lot of that comes down to grocery, where cycle delivery is becoming a bit of a bigger deal now. So because the supermarkets, they have these quite small convenience type stores in all sorts of areas, thousands of them across the country. These cycle couriers can pick stuff up from them and deliver them to your house in like 20 minutes, right? So you place an online order, it's with you in 20 minutes. It's really quite a strong proposition. It's a little bit more urban than it would be rural, obviously, but that is a direction of travel, and we're getting a bit more unreasonable, I think, in the UK about our expectations, is the thing to say from that. And then the final one is sort of something that's with us very much at the moment, but I suspect is going to be quite a long-term problem, is this issue of supply. So getting stuff out of Asia has been a real nightmare throughout the pandemic, and it's had a real kick-on effect. So we're coming up to Christmas, currently recording this, and people are pretty worried really about having the right stock in place. And then you had Brexit as well, so you got sort of pandemic and Brexit. And that's made things a lot more complicated. So whereas before we were part of the single market in Europe, which meant you could just trade backwards and forwards under a single set of rules, now there's like 27 different sets of rules. So the way that a lot of companies were structured is that they would buy stuff in and sell it back out, but now it's just really complicated. So it's not going to be a simple solution. It was one of those things that was promised to be this really great, easy thing that was going to happen, and it was a total debacle. And you're seeing the sort of knock-on effects for that, which might go on for quite a long time.
Andy, thank you. That's absolutely a great, concise insight. Obviously, a lot of this also indicates some of the mistakes that overseas merchants, let's say, make when they start to enter the retail market in the UK. Do any examples pop into your mind around things that people have done wrong or exceptionally right when getting into the UK market?
Yeah, the classic is you just haven't really done your research. You maybe listen to the sort of, you do some quite basic research and then you think you can go there and just nail it, but it's not like that at all. I think you try and look at your niche, right? So if you look at the British customer, then you might look at them and just have like one person, whereas in reality, all companies will have multiple personas that they serve. And I think if you just go in thinking, oh, well, the British people are like that, then you're almost certainly going to screw it up, and you've seen that. The highway is littered.
Andy, thanks again for breaking this all down for us. 10 really succinct insights for how you could understand the UK retail market, where things are going. Tell us a little bit about why we're listening to you. What is IMRG? What do you do? Who are you?
Very pertinent question. So we're a trade body for online retail in the UK. So we have a group of retailers, about 200 of them, that give us their sales figures every week, and then we benchmark their performance so they can see how they're doing against their competitors, basically. And it goes in a lot of detail as well. So it's sales performance, but it's also stuff across their websites. So checkout abandonment rates, add to basket rates, bounce rates on various pages, all that sort of stuff. So we help retailers to understand where they're strong and where they're not so strong.
Wow. Okay, it's really great and a wonderful commitment from a bunch of retailers saying, hey, listen, we're stronger together. If we give our input to a single source, we can actually get more value out of it. I'd love to see that happen elsewhere.
Yeah, an interesting thing about it actually is that no one smashes it. So even if you look at the sort of strongest performing retailers, if you look across their whole website, there's always one point where they're just not very good. A bit like sort of whack-a-mole, I suppose. You sort of solve one problem and something else kind of pops up.
Well, thankfully, you're there to help them get in line and figure out what those pain points are. Again, Andy, thanks from IMRG, breaking it all down.
Yep. Cheers, Josh.
Cheers. Thanks again for watching another actionable video from the GrowBig Initiative here with IMRG. Andy from the UK talking about things that you should understand about the UK retail market. Click on the video, subscribe, follow us so you can understand how to sell through multiple channels and geographies. I'm your host, Josh Halpern, and we'll see you soon.